What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Above Average Podcast. Today, for the first time in a long time, it's just going to be me and Ethan today talking about his new business, Veteran Claims Blueprint, and all the things that entails.
Hell yeah.
What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy?
Sitting here welcoming you like we don't know each other.
Yeah, like we haven't hung out like half the days of the week anyways, at the CrossFit gym or something.
For real.
Let's see, what is up? So, quick little kickoff celebration. I was about to go over there and crack a Guinness because it was my 3 years of being out of the military yesterday.
For real?
Yeah.
3 years.
It's been 3 years. Yeah, my hair length does kind of give it away a little bit.
I just would have assumed it was way longer than that. But I mean, wait. What was the last thing? Wasn't the Army? Was it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It was the Army. You were still in the Army. Oh shit. Okay, right. COVID. Oh
yes.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like, I always forget that you were back in, or maybe you were not in when we met in 2019.
Oh,
or
yeah,
were you?
yeah.
You were the whole time. Okay.
Yep.
So then I guess, I don't know, my civilian brain, I'm just like, because like, I guess I'm thinking that how would I have met you if you were like in the Army back when we met?
Yeah. Well,
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
it's because I was in the National Guard and
Right.
you had met me a post-deployment, probably one deployment, one like call it a training cycle.
Yeah.
When I went to Europe, which was, awesome.
Yeah.
Not the same as deployment, but
Sure.
yeah. So, I mean, we had met when I was in the National Guard and I worked
Right.
for the state of Pennsylvania. So, speaking to the civilians, I can explain depth of this or not. It doesn't really matter to me, but yeah, I was working on side businesses and getting jobs and moving here
Right.
while being in the Army, just not doing the full-time deal,
Yeah. And so then it was 2022, right? Is that when it was?
Yeah.
And then the thing with COVID when you were back, like, I mean, that was a separate thing, right? This is the thing that I always have trouble understanding is like, cause you're like under it,
Yeah.
but then there's these different points in time where there's like a specific job being done. Is that right? A way to the right way to explain it?
Yeah. If it's easier, I can go through a little bit of just like kind of the different parts of it. Cause actually like I end up covering almost all of the work things you can do in the Army, in the National Guard.
No,
like
I mean,
I actually cover kind of every little area within my 8-year time span.
Yeah.
So, when you join the National Guard, you work for the state that you're assigned to, and you work for the governor, and you also work, you fall under the Department of Defense, but you're under a different legal titling, right?
Okay.
When you're active duty, it's called Title 10, and you fall under different laws. You are not a civilian. Like, there's laws that to you would not make sense, but
Sure.
to the Army, they're like, well, that's just how it is. Under Title 32, it's similar laws, but slightly different because you're spending most of your time being a civilian. Like, most of my time. Like, I have a 9-to-5 job. I get to pick where I live. I don't live on a base, right? So they can't really enforce like full-time laws on somebody who's not. And, so the working capacity is obviously, it's weird because we had the same standards as active duty. And the unit I was in was also in this state deployed the most, which was on par with active duty every 4 years. I would be in Africa last year if I would have stayed in, or this year coming up because there's rotations that are happening there with the Guard in Pennsylvania. And we have a pretty big Guard state. It's like rated like top 5 in like capacity and ability and deployments too. When we have the biggest National Guard base and one of the only ones in the country, but the biggest one in Harrisburg. So that's that little base that it's not small, but it seems small, but there's like a highway that actually goes through that base. And
It's not the turnpike, is it?
no, it is the turnpike.
So
Yeah.
when you're
not the turnpike. You take one exit and there's another highway that cuts through
okay.
the.
I don't know if I would have seen it.
You would have to go out of your way a little bit to get to it.
I've been to Harrisburg, but like driving the turnpike, like when you go across, it's the Susquehanna River, right? I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
And then 3 Mile Island's like in the distance, and then like coming through there. But then I think I've only ever, it's like Mechanicsburg or the Harrisburg exit. I feel like if I would have seen it, I would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a huge base that actually has a lot of joint training from people from the FBI, people from Special Forces, and what was weird, it was one of the only bases left in the U.S., which this was common back in the day, but there was no security measures. So like you could drive through the base and you could like be like next to the flight line with like Apache helicopters.
That's nuts.
Like within eyesight, which is like if you're on the outside of a gate, maybe you would see that if you lived in like, there's like 2 bases like near Nashville, and you could maybe live near one of the bases, but you're not being on the base.
Yeah.
It's
When did
very
that
bizarre.
change?
This year. Oh wait, no, last year.
That feels...
So they put up a gate last year. So like I drove to the base 2 years ago, not for any particular reason. I was driving through Harrisburg. I needed to get gas. I knew the gas station, but they had like that Stoke coffee, but they had it on draft.
Yeah.
There, and I just used to go there all the time when I was at that base training.
Awesome, yeah.
So they had like the Stoke cold brew. So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna swing by, but it's on the base to get that. So I'm like, well, there's no gate, but they were building it.
I thought you were gonna say 2002. You know,
last year.
Yeah, that seems very like too recent. But
the fact that you could, oh, okay, I guess this is gonna be our background.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. The fact that they could have, I mean, and I think of this from like a national security perspective. Every base is pretty locked down, and the misconception is people think because you're in the Army, you have guns and you can like go get a hold of your weapon. Like no.
Yeah.
Even as a soldier, you can't just get a hold of weapons and armory it's pretty tightly locked down. But civilians can't just go on a base. Like you have to be authorized on, and somebody has to typically follow you, like be with you.
Sure.
But this base, you could have any threat actor just watching flight line times, units coming in. Like they could just watch it happen.
Wild.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
So in the state of Pennsylvania, I worked in the Guard for 8 years as a commissioned officer. So I commissioned instead of enlisted. Someone's going to grill me in the comments here for that. But I had spent, out of my 8 years in the Guard, I had spent 3 years of it active duty time, split between Title 10 and Title 32 full-time orders, which if there's a state response emergency, then you can be activated to help with, you've probably seen guys in Humvees like picking up people that crash on the side of the road during snowstorms. Like that's common here.
Yeah,
or hurricane watch in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's a really big thing where they'll send in guys in Humvees and big vehicles that aren't going to get swept away that to go find people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was deployed to the Middle East in 2016 to 2017, really young officer, and then different periods, but a few different periods, I was under state orders for emergency response, one of them being COVID. I was on like a FEMA course once. I did security for the Pope once.
All right.
So those kind of added up into time blocks, but yeah, 3 years of full time in my 8 years of part time. So to the whole like drill once a month and then 2 weeks in the summer is, I mean, I don't want to talk badly about the National Guard. I love everybody there, but like, depending on what's going on in the world, they can just wrap you up and say, hey, you're working for X amount of time if they really need it.
Yeah. So, well, my question is based on that is like, so you have like the Army, mm-hmm. right? And the National Guard, and you were in both.
Yeah. So I fall under the big Army still,
yes.
under a different component that works for the state. So it's still both. So like I still was a soldier with all the same capabilities, all the same training technically, but really less repetitions, but still the same training and the same deployment cycle expectations. So I'm still in the Army. I'm just not an active duty soldier in the Army. Okay. I was in the Army National Guard. There's also the Air National Guard. So there's the National Guard works for the states. Reservist, by the technicality, it's different, but reservists are a reserve component of active duty that are federal side. I was working for the state, and the federal side is kind of a little bit of a different kind of paperwork wise. It's the same part-time guy. It's mm-hmm. just for the paperwork, they work for the federal government, and I work for the state first and then the federal government second.
Okay. I've known you for so long, dude. We've talked about this so many times, but like, I still feel like I don't know shit. Like it's just, it's so complex.
Well, and like, imagine if you did like a few months training and then you come in and you're in charge of some soldiers and then there's rules and regulations and things and like you kind of don't know shit.
Yeah.
So like when I was deployed, I didn't know much about structurally how the Army really functioned. Like I haven't experienced it, and I deployed 6 months into my job.
Yeah. God.
Which is overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, there's like so much to know, and I mean, you're only talking about like one, section of it all, really. I mean, there's so much that, I mean, you're sitting here talking about this, I'm thinking about, all right, well, there's like also the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force, like there's all these other things that are happening. And I mean, I know they're separate, like in their own ways and stuff, but all falling under the U.S. military at the same time.
Yeah, with different missions, right? So like each one has a different primary mission, and that kind of is the North Star guiding how everything else will kind of fall in place. I mean, the Army, we take over land, And the way we do it, there's a couple specifics, but we take over land. So we need a lot of people, and equipment has to come with land.
Yeah.
So it's a big logistical effing nightmare to do Army training, because Army training is practicing putting up and down tents with secured networks in them and communications and trucks, but then also breaking it down and moving it. Like, that's how we train. Whereas the Air Force doesn't have to do that. They live on a flight line. They are supporting a flight line and their pilots.
Yeah.
The infantry, the tip of the spear, right? We are supported by the logistical capacity of like 99% of the Army to support the 1% who does the fighting. But that takes an absolute logistical circus, like you not believe. But we can take over a whole country. I mean, the Army can take land of an entire country in like typically a lot of smaller countries in like days, you know.
Dude, it's just crazy to think about. And
it is kind of madness to think about.
It is. I mean, it is. It's very hard to comprehend. But so getting into the veteran claims, I mean, like, what's the backstory on starting this business?
Yeah, so I guess a little bit of that is, you know, I chose to get out of the military, right? And it was a hard decision, right? It's a really big part of your life, even when it's part-time. You know, it's something that you, culturally, it changes you, mentally it changes you, experiences. It's just something that was just like really different. So I decided to get out for my own personal reasons in general. I can go into some of it, but generally speaking, I was feeling unhappy with where my career might be going. But I was also dealing with a lot of things mentally that I was kind of...
That's recording, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I got into the habit of doing that. No, go ahead.
I was kind of experiencing and overcoming some mental things that I was like not really addressing. So it was a mixture of, I was feeling that the stress of my job and not really being either fully in the Army or not was kind of weighing on me. And then my career not quite being what I wanted it to be in the future was changing, you know, and it was taking up a lot more time than my civilian life. And I dealt with a couple injuries. I did a tryout for Special Forces and hurt my back. I had, you know, hurt my back again on deployment before that. You know, I'd blown out my eardrum. Like, I had some injuries too, but those weren't my first thought. My first thought was, I'm feeling unhappy and I don't want to be a resentful officer and not be there, because I felt the trickle-down effect of that on my first deployment of somebody who was not the strongest leader, you know, and seeing the effect. And so leaving the military was more like the celebration. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm free, you know, like I've been locked in this place where I'm like always kind of getting called into shit and always want to, but then just never putting the rest of my life pieces together, like not really forming the best relationships, not really spending time with my family, not really spending time in my career. But what happened later, right, is once I got out, I started feeling the effects of the mental health side of the whole experience of the military. I had time to sit on it, time to unwind, and I realized I kind of was in pain, right? So I went to the VA and, you know, started using the healthcare. And, you know, come to find out, someone along the lines of the VA was like, have you gone to file for disability? Right off the bat, I'm not disabled, right? That's that's the first thought. You're like, I'm fine, ma'am. You know, like I'm good, you know? And she was like, well, no, there's injuries you're tracking here that you can get compensation for because like you're owed that. Do you want me to like sign you up for like talking to somebody about that? And I was like, yeah, sure. I could have hardly cared less. So the mental health kind of side started bringing me into the doctor in general. And then I was kind of learning about the VA. The VA is not taught to people in the military, by the way. So if you're in the Army now or the military, you have no idea what the hell happens at the VA, and you'll learn about it in a 2-week span when you get out, and that's it. So you show up at the VA and you just trust them. That's all you can do. So I was just like trusting a doctor and, you know, just been like, oh, cool. I mean, I guess I have healthcare sick, you know?
Yeah.
So I went through a claims process and I was denied stuff, and I didn't really know when I was kind of learning it. I was like, oh, wait, hold on. How did I get denied? And I was really just at a loss of the whole process. And I just completely gave up on it. I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I don't have a disability, because that seemed crazy anyways. And then I started to kind of learn more about like what that actually entails and what that means. And I was like, I think that I kind of like somebody at the VA was really not helping me. And so I started talking to other people. I started talking to a company, and I'd kind of learned that this person that had not helped me, was really kind of in the wrong. But if it was up to me to like go after looking back into this and looking into the benefits, because it opens up different layers of benefits long term for you. And I wanted to take care of myself. I was still suffering really bad back problems. I still wasn't mentally 100% great. So I started to pursue the education behind what the VA was not providing me. The VA has amazing benefits and an absolutely horrible PR. Like, they just never put out information about this. And soldiers come out, full-time guys that have not lived and even worked as a civilian. And like I said, at best, they have a 2-week course to learn how to be a civilian, everything. And the VA is probably 1 day of that. And then they're on their own.
Yeah.
So I really started having a problem with this. I was like, okay, I figured this out by way of researching, studying, YouTube, using the skills from being an officer and being in college to literally treat it like school, to figure out like, well, wait, hold on. What how does this even work? And that's kind of what got me to doing what I'm doing as a side business now, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm. So again, like hearing you talk about it, like it's like there's a lot to unpack there, I feel like. And I mean, trying to almost understand it from a perspective of like what I've run into, but like you think about now talking about like insurance, like any kind of insurance, right? Like where it's like you have insurance and then, I mean, like for example, a couple years ago, a house that I owned got hit by a hurricane, right? And so then I'm calling this insurance company every day to make sure that they're going to pay me what they're supposed to, because if you don't stay on top of it, they're just going to be like, oh, well, you didn't stay on top of it and we didn't pay it, like good for us, right? And so then I'm not saying that that's intentional, but from the perspective of an insurance company, if people don't know, then they don't have to then pay.
Mm-hmm. So now you see why people get upset with the VA.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because they're like, well, wait, it's not that everybody is owed the max amount you can get from benefits necessarily, or compensation for injuries. Not everybody's rated equally within what their experience was.
Sure.
The VA's budget is that every time a person signs up for the military, it is allocated in a budget that they are taken care of later. It is already set aside for the amount of people that go in service that leave are then going to be covered.
Yeah.
Legally, it's all there. It's like it's a huge budget for the VA. It's like right under the DOD is like the VA. It's huge. So why wouldn't they tell more people about this? That's where people online start talking and saying the VA doesn't take care of you. And I'm like, well, I see where they might not, or I see why it takes 10 hurdles that you have to jump through with no leadership that you used to rely on full time, that now you just have to hopefully have the due diligence to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And the saddest part is then the people that are really, really suffering, right? Think of the people that have seen a lot of really bad combat, and cognitively this is quite challenging. So you're throwing them into that field where they are already struggling with issues to then have to also be organized and on top of it and proactive.
Oh yeah.
So the people that are suffering the worst might not have any care because they can't get their act together. And until someone helps them, then what do? Nothing.
Yes. Yeah. And that, I mean, think about the conversation that we had, like when we had Callie on, like it was a similar, like, I mean, I was like now like coming full circle around to that, like that conversation, just being involved with that, not really knowing like, kind of what's being talked about, but it makes sense that with what you're saying where, yeah, 100%, like there's people that are like in bad shape and, mentally maybe not prepared to have to then go back and, do all this research and stuff. And so it just seems like there's something missing in the middle.
Yes.
Like you come out of it, you have this problem that should be dealt with, but you're left to your own devices to then make sure that it's being taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so then now it's on you to make it happen, but you're already in a position where you're like, yeah, I'm already in a bad spot. And now you're telling me I have to go and do all this extra work just to make sure that I get what's owed to me.
Yeah.
And so then that's kind of like where you're coming in now, is almost like bridging the gap between those two things of like, hey, this is you, the person that's struggling. This is the thing that's going to help you then figure out like how to get what you're owed.
Yes. Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, and like to take it back a little bit, right? Like and I want to make this clear for all people that are listening, right? That don't understand like how VA compensation really is and how it's been established. Compensation from war has been established since the Revolutionary War in America. There was a pension program for injured soldiers of some capacity from the military paid to people at that point and onward. The VA got a lot more organized as time went on because it wasn't called the VA yet. The VA, the Veterans Administration, was established in 1930 after World War I. World War I was a huge catalyst for it. And it was established to help with the just healthcare treatment of people coming back with crazy injuries, getting mortar fired, getting, the people that lived through gas then suffered a whole lifetime with it. It was very extreme coming from any war beforehand into World War I was just, insanity at first. Yeah. And the VA kept developing after each war. It was like a new phase of the VA was like reopened, right? And it was readjusted for the better, generally speaking. So World War II, the GI Bill was actually enacted. That was like set in stone that we're going to help veterans in wars because World War II was, again, that next catalyst. Mm-hmm. And it was really geared towards getting them jobs, getting them education, getting them housing. What's the part they're missing? Mental health.
Sure.
That's like a huge part of war.
Yeah.
They covered the healthcare for physical, but mental health was, PTSD wasn't established until, guess what? The next wave.
Much later. Yeah.
The next wave was really Vietnam. And that being such a complex war, created a lot of challenges for the VA. But what they started really seeing is the need for helping mentally somehow, as well as all the other attributes, right? If you come back from war, you need a house and all this stuff, like they kind of hook you up, right? But it doesn't mean you're okay. It doesn't mean you're a functioning human. So, and that war too was very different than World War II in terms of actually how war was fought, like strategically. It actually damaged people psychologically in this war more than World War II.
I was thinking the same thing as you were saying that. Yeah, like what I know about Vietnam is that it was, the psychological aspect of it was more prominent.
Oh yeah.
Well, not to say like that World War II wasn't, any of the wars weren't, but the things that I know about, just how that was fought.
For the first time fighting an enemy that was looking like you're a friendly.
Yeah.
For the first time changing our tactics to where you are a very close combatant with them, and then also, again, adding new weapons and adding a complex war environment. And then on top of that, too, you're having a draft, right? And you're having a draft where a lot of people didn't support it. So you had people really not wanting to be there, and it wasn't to save the country from potential Nazi Germany.
Yeah,
it was, why am I here?
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously wanted to go fight, but then there was a lot of people that didn't, and they came back and were mistreated. And the VA, like I said, in that challenging time, faced huge waves of challenges. And, it's hard to say what they did that was right versus wrong, but really the administration at the time having this war was not good.
Right.
Across the board.
Yeah.
So that was that next wave of like establishing some mental health and establishing a little bit more care for the human being. But the Veterans Administration then changed to the Department of Veterans Administration in 1989, which wasn't even that long ago.
No.
But it wasn't actually enacted as a department until 1989, where then it really had a lot more power. And then we went into Gulf War and went into Desert Storm, which were, not to be overlooked, but they were not a huge catalyst like Vietnam. And then the biggest wave probably was the global war on terror. And now we have the VA that we have today, because of the global war on terror. And that was so crazy because the guys that went into the invasion in Iraq came back and the VA just ramped up and they just started throwing pills at people to help them. They started doing all this and like they just kind of had it together to just like funnel all of the shit to veterans and like, you're good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite figured out till now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just seems it's so recent. Like it doesn't feel like I would have not expected it to be I mean, I don't know. Like I never
department
knew. Yeah.
till
Yeah.
1989.
Right. Yeah. Like it's still very new
It is still very new
in the sense of like, and things aren't slowing down.
Right.
It's just like, you're just kind of like figuring it out as you go. I mean, on a massive scale.
Well, and so then here's some problems, right? We have veterans from so many eras. I have talked to Vietnam veterans. I've talked to World War II veterans in person and online. I've been contacted by guys that, I can't confirm all of them, but like that are older, that are like, I need help figuring this out. And they're fucking 80.
Yeah.
Because they finally figured out that they like could get help or they needed it because their health really was getting to that point of decline. But the VA that they had to deal with mistreated them potentially, or they didn't trust, right?
Yeah.
Or their issues are different than the GWAT era, like entirely. So the VA hospital, with all they have, deals with very few World War II veterans, but everybody with healthcare issues from Vietnam, and then dudes that are like 24, huge different human beings.
Yeah.
And you have all these specialties and you have a lot of money into it, but like that's a lot. So to say we want to take care of all veterans now, you're still looking after the ones that are alive right now, back from their wars, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely very dynamic, and there's laws that were passed to help those now that were mistreated. So it's a lot to undertake, right? And it's a lot to learn about because you serve in the military now, and it's probably getting more known online, but like people, if I didn't know when I got out 3 years ago, you think anybody before the fucking internet had any idea?
No
Absolutely
shot.
not.
No shot. Yeah, there's no way.
So of course they weren't taken care of,
No, I mean, you talk about like just people from the older generation doing anything online. Like it's not a thing.
The fact I've had an 80-year-old reach out to me on a YouTube video.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I went to his channel and he's 80, and I'm like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah.
That he's had any sort of ability, whether or not someone helped him or whatever, to like to try to figure out a whole different world than when he was in service.
Yeah,
like
and that's
entirely
one
different.
person. Like, like that's one person that like probably was in a specific enough of a situation to where he got to that point. But there's probably the majority that would never arrive at, I should go on YouTube and try to figure this out.
Right. Yeah. And so it became this, it became this interesting path where once I figured out the benefits for myself, I had been trying to find a way to stay connected to the military in a positive way and building out, something that I can be proud of, but something that is actually helpful. And there was not a lot of people. I mean, I had self-taught through a bunch of sources, and there's not a lot of people that really have been putting it out there into something that is useful for people without just fully trying to take money from them. So there's VA lawyers, loan sharks, as they call them, some of them too, where they'll take percentages to say, we're going to guarantee that we're going to get you as much compensation as possible. You'll only owe us 1% every month over month for the rest of your life, though. It's just 1%.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge amount, right? So there's people that help veterans but not help veterans. And so I thought, if there's enough people that I can reach out to, what is the most beneficial for them? Because what helped me is the things I wish I knew was, before I talked to that first guy at the VA that kind of effed me over, I wish I at least knew the questions to ask him. At least I wish I would have known that information, not necessarily that I knew how to do it all.
Sure.
So I wanted to develop a course for people that can self-learn so they know what they need to do next. It's not necessarily that it's going to guarantee anything, because in the course, it's not, this will get you as much compensation as humanly possible. It's, these are everything that I know. And before you talk to a lawyer, you might need to, you might not. I'll tell you when you probably do.
Yeah.
When you get to this step out of 10 steps and you still are denied something, if you still have trouble with something, that's when you need to talk to a lawyer. Not you're guaranteed to get all this stuff. Like, it's not going to happen that way.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's just very, it's complex, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's also daunting when you think about it. Like, I mean, if you're coming at it from not knowing anything and being like, you don't know what you don't know. And then you've got to then figure that out. Yeah. And then you're like, I mean, am I going in the right direction at all? And so like, to have someone that's done it and be like, hey, like, okay, this is how it went for me, does it make sense that what you're dealing with follows the same path?
Right.
You know, at least you can kind of give some kind of insight to that process.
It's to at least answer that first part, right? To like, well, let me explain everything from it. Like, if you can get that far, you're probably 90% of the way there.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know what you don't know, start with figuring out what is involved. That's like most of my courses, what is involved. I go into the specifics within the course of like what you will need to technically do for yourself. Writing. You're going to have to write your stories yourself. And it's not just storytelling. It's not for funsies, right? It's to an insurance. It's to an insurance adjuster first, as they talk to you, and then it goes to a VA who looks at the doctor, insurance adjuster. It's a contractor, and the veteran, and they look at those stories, and if they match up, and they hit certain markers of like being accurate, and fall within the laws too, then it gets approved.
Yeah.
So how many guys that potentially grew up in the hood, or grew up in the deep South and joined the military, pridefully did so, but also because maybe that is their best option.
Yeah.
They are not the most educated human beings on the planet. They served 3.5 years, so now they're 21 or 22. And you're telling me that they need to learn how to write fucking essays for themselves? Like, most of our people in the military are enlisted, and most of the enlisted people, almost like, I think it's a third of them, are E4s, the first like 2 ranks, E1, 2, 3, and 4 is like, but like all under that category. They're all young people that haven't gone to college yet, that have a variety of education and background, and then they just get booted out into the real world, and they have to go deal with the stuff that we have to deal with, but they've never even seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Just right away, it's very obvious as to like how difficult that would potentially be.
Yeah, like I'm sitting at one of the best positions possible. I've suffered through different things that I've had to deal with, but I've been educated, and I've been very lucky that I've known how to work hard and where. But people are very different, and the limitations of work and ability and intellect and understanding, and then again, it all comes down to then how many of these people have issues, then that is hindering one of those areas.
Yeah.
If not all of them,
Yeah. So how does the VA health work versus VA benefits and compensation? And then like, how does this affect veterans?
Yeah. So I'm not the biggest expert because I don't work in the VA, but I can tell you that from my experience, I can speak on this on experience, and then just from what I've like had to research, right? There's 2 parts to the VA. There's VA health, VA benefits compensation. When you are going into using the VA services, you always start on the VA health side. But guess what? They actually don't communicate almost at all. Our budget...
Why would they?
Yeah, that would make too much sense. As for what I thought too, when I went to the first compensation appointment, so I was in healthcare, and I jumped over to this side, and they're like, "We don't have any of your notes from your doctor. You were supposed to bring them." Like, okay, that's crazy. The budget for the VA is the benefits of compensation, which covers compensation for injuries and ailments, benefits as in, extended education benefits, and wellness kind of falls under that one as well. And anything with education with school, like GI Bill stuff, that also falls under there. There's that part, and then there's the health side. And the health side is anything healthcare related, from specialty appointments, surgeries, doctors, primary care, is the whole deal. And that huge bucket, 90% of the budget, close to 90. Someone's going to quote me on here, but it's above 80, and less than 90% of the budget is just in health. And the benefits of compensation is there as well. It's maybe not supported quite as heavily as health, because health takes so many things, right?
Yeah.
Physical hospitals, locations, the whole deal. And so they're separated. I can't tell you why they are, but I can tell you from experience what happens when you go to VA healthcare. They will tell you there's a VSO, a veteran service officer, who is the middle ground, and they work for the compensation side. And that is the guy that is supposed to help a veteran when they want to make a claim, file for a claim for disability for an injury or an ailment or something that happened to them. So there's one guy assigned to you, and it's a free service from the VA, and you hope that person is going to be educated and take care of you. So when I went from the healthcare side, I've been going to the VA for over a year, gone probably 3 or 4 appointments. I talked to like a VSO, and he said, "What do you want to claim?" Didn't ask me, didn't tell me, didn't educate. No, there's no pamphlet, even nothing. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I mean, I have a couple issues, migraines, this, that, or the other." And he's like, "Okay, cool. I'll just submit it for you. Do I have the legal authority to do so?" And I'm like,
"Who are you asking?"
I don't have a lawyer, so
yeah.
I'm just going to say yes because, you know, I'm, you know, don't know what the hell you're asking really. And I tried to ask him, I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Well, it means I can submit you to get a claim and get some compensation at the end of it." So, sure, go for it, buddy. That's all I got, right? I'm trusting the VA because I kind of have to.
Yeah.
And I go to that appointment, and like I said, I went there, and now that you're on the claim side of the house, wasn't explained to me, this is like that insurance adjuster, and you have to have all of these documents ready. And there's formatting, and there's the ailments will tell you symptomatically where you'll fall under for percentage ranges, all this stuff. And when you go to that exam, it's a contracted company, and you go to that exam, and they ask you questions, and they're just checking boxes on a list. That's it. And they'll look at 10 things. If you submit 10 things, unless there's something that's really specialty, like for mental health, it's separate, they'll look at you in about 45 minutes. Could be 10 entirely different things, from a foot injury to a sinus problem to a neck injury, like 45 minutes. They'll look at the whole thing. So if you're not only providing evidence that you need to bring in person or online or both, that's what I suggest to people in my course, just bring a hard copy, why not? But you also have to be kind of articulate. You have to speak about these things and actually explain them. You can't beat around the bush, but you've got about 45 minutes. And if there's a ton of things, good luck.
Yeah.
So you have to be very well-rounded and be okay talking about these things that might suck, that might have damaged you. And then you have to explain it well, not just say, "Well, yeah, it hurts sometimes." And they're going to say, "Well, it says here the symptoms have to say 3 times a year." And he said sometimes, so that's no.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They just check boxes, and this gets sent to the VA, and somebody that works at the VA looks at that case. So, yeah, I went into that first one unknowing this, and the person that was a contractor was grilling me while they're asking me questions. They're like, "How do you not know?" Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say I'm the smartest person. I'm not a dumb person. What do you mean? What did I not know? What questions was I supposed to figure out?
Yeah. Yeah. There's just no way of being prepared.
And this process is like playing the game, because you go to your normal doctor, and they should have the best intent for you, but this is a contracted person.
Yeah.
That's technically a doctor, and they're going to see 30 people in a day or 10 people in a day or whatever it is, right? And they're just checking boxes, and that gets sent, checking boxes, and that gets sent. So you need to make sure you're prepared, because you're talking and having to validate for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really hard, right? So going from one to the other, I can't tell you why it's still set up that way, but they don't communicate. And so when you go into compensation land, it is not the same. And people don't realize that, because when they start going to the VA, they just start showing up just like I did.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So what's changing in the VA now?
Well, some good things that have happened. I'm going to talk about the last administration, generally speaking, a little bit before that administration too, but probably one of the best things that ever happened in all of the VA, one of the biggest turning points because of the global war on terror, was what's called the PACT Act. The PACT Act opens up the doors for veterans from all eras to get compensated for things that had happened in their life from time overseas, deployments, wars. If you've had any cancer, you can direct it to, I was in Vietnam during this time, and every single cancer is on that list. That's great. It opens up the doors for every era, right? That PACT Act has like those presumptive conditions list, and that was probably one of the biggest helpful things to make that leap for people that are from different eras of war, that are unable to get service connected, because they're like, "Well, I have, cancer, and I know it's related to Agent Orange because I've looked it up." But before the PACT Act, the VA said, "Well, we can't, you can't prove that because you didn't have cancer in war."
Yeah.
Because it's not the same as getting shot. If you get shot in the leg, and then you went and got treated for it in the military. Then you go to the VA, then they look at the military record. It's already connected.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you connect something that was long lasting later?
Yeah.
They weren't taken care of now. So this is the VA's way to make up for it. So that was one of the best things that happened only 5 years ago. And the PACT Act opened up the doors for a lot of vets to use it. So out of 9 million veterans, roughly 9 million right now, 6 million today use any VA healthcare or benefits at all. Before the PACT Act, it was less than 4 million. So we had a 2 million jump in less than 5 years. There's not 2 million veterans that all left the Army at the same time, right? This was getting new people in. The VA app is actually one of the best things too that has helped, because now it is actually very, very functional. So their website was okay. It's gotten a little better. The app is actually phenomenal because you can actually message a doctor directly on there. It's a secure network. You can check your processing claims. You can figure out your paperwork on there, which is amazing. So those are some of the highlights, the big good things that came out of, the last administration. And this administration, we haven't seen the good yet because it's very early. What's happening because of Doge and what's going on is that they're letting go of a lot of people from the VA. And what they're saying is we're letting go of all these people that we hired for the PACT Act. But the PACT Act isn't going away. So what the hell does that mean, right? You have a bunch of people that were used to work on a job, and now that job and that very big, important benefit is now going to be spread out to new or other people that work at the VA. You're going to get people that are overworked, or people that are not taking care of claims as well, or however this trickle effect is. And as of yesterday, 30,000 more people by the end of this year are going to be let go from the VA. Supposedly, in the areas where there's just too many people. Every place has that. Every huge organization has 5 people that are doing the job that just one person can do.
Yeah.
This is complicated. A lot of people that work at the VA are veterans, right? This is a stable job for them. Working in the government in some sectors is the bandwidth of people that can really just stay within that bandwidth, because the government works slow. It works at a different pace than corporate. And so I'm not sure what this looks like in the future, but I worry that it's going to lead to veterans not being taken care of. If I already wasn't taken care of by that one VSO very well, I can't imagine if, maybe he doesn't get fired or let go. I'm sorry. But other people do that are really good, or other people retire because they don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. It's just going to have a trickle down effect to the veteran having less support. That's just what happens. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what happens. This trickle effect affects the veterans the most. I feel bad for everybody that works at the VA that's going to get let go. Obviously, no one wants to lose their job. I've been there. But if you take somebody that is not unsure of the civilian world and is dealing with problems, and now they have less support, less people maybe reaching out to them, if they even do, than before, you think the suicide rate's going to stay the same or go up? Just take a gander. It's probably going to go up, right?
Yeah.
It's a trickle effect of these issues. So I fear for the support system, because the VA's money is not changing. That's actually been announced that they're not cutting any financing in the VA in any big field. There's little changes here and there, but they're actually bolstering some areas.
Yeah.
But they're letting go of people.
Manpower to facilitate that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And not every single spot needs manpower, but taking care of people takes people in general. It doesn't take a system. It's not going to do it.
Yeah.
People will take care of people at the end of the day.
Yeah. So what else does the new business provide on YouTube and in the course directly?
Yeah. So with the course, right, I had the kind of the inspiration to want to build a course to teach people what they don't know at the very least, right? And there's a monetary value attached to the course because we've paid for things that we're using, for putting it together. And I have a goal to kind of get this out to people as much as I can to help them get to making better decisions for themselves later and knowing where to go. So I've created organically just YouTube content for promoting this, where I can educate people on all the little ins and outs of what I believe will be helpful. And there's a lot of things that you have to do tactically. I have to talk about compensation. so I get more viewership. I have to talk about news and updates because that's what people care about. But I want to expand this into getting into a realm where I can also speak on, because I've experienced this more than I've experienced the VA, talking about getting a job and working as a civilian versus the military, because I know both sides. Or talking about healthcare and the mental health side of what it is like leaving the military and the hurdles you will have. So I want that platform on YouTube to expand. Maybe I'll make another course on, not just writing a resume, but like maybe I would advance some courses that I have. But really, the messaging I have is like, because I think I'm bringing value, I'm finding out now by teaching the veterans how to become civilians through every avenue. It's not just compensation, right? It's not just the benefits that you get. Those are huge because those are life-changing. If you are covered for the things that happen to you, it doesn't take them away, but it can alleviate stressors in other areas and give you some more freedom again. Some freedom that you think leaving the military is going to give you freedom. It's going to give you a different kind of freedom. The grass isn't always greener. I tell you what, man, some days I miss having a heavy structure and having there's a lot of dumb work and a lot of like trauma bonding, but there's like, you still know that like not everybody puts on a uniform, and you leave that and civilian people don't care about each other the same way. It's just a fact. It takes layers of depth for that to ever feel the same. So I want to keep developing that message and grow a group of people that can learn from this, broadly speaking. So the YouTube channel is providing the best amount of information. If you want to dig deeper into the exact benefits and claims and that process, I have a paid course that is very thorough with 8 hours of stuff that I filmed in here. Looks kind of familiar, except I changed the camera angle like a little bit, so it didn't look the same. But that's where people can find it. So and then I'm gonna make the short clips for TikTok, because that's how you get the people going.
For sure, yeah. What are the handles for YouTube and TikTok?
Everything is Veteran Claims Blueprint. So the website veteranclaimsblueprint.com and Veteran Claims Blueprint for YouTube and for TikTok. I put it onto Instagram as well. It doesn't seem to get much traction, but the depth of information you get is probably starting with the YouTube channel. And I'm putting out stuff once to twice a week, and it's been growing quite well. And I respond to every single comment. I've gotten a limited amount of snarky comments from veterans, which I was kind of shocked. I was a little anxious to do this at first. Yeah, people grill each other, man. So I've had a lot of support, but mostly a lot of actual good feedback from people. Like, man, people need to talk more about the PACTAC, and I was like, I will address that in the next video directly.
Yeah. So where would people? What's the best way to contact you directly if people have specific questions besides just what you're offering on social media?
I would say going through you can go through the website for an email, but realistically, like, I will respond on those platforms. TikTok, I do get the most messages directly. Or if you don't have a TikTok because you're old, I understand. I only got one for this reason, essentially. But going on to YouTube, sending a message on there, like, I will get back to people and I will send over my email if there's follow-up questions. Like, I have no problem helping people for free. And just, I just hope I hope I can help people in a way that, they might not know they're struggling with, just like I was.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like, just from, the conversations that we've had, like, it's something that is just so needed, but, it's crazy that it's taken somebody on their own accord to decide that it's needed.
Yeah.
It feels like something that should already be there, but it's not. And so, it's great. That you've taken it on yourself, and, hopefully you can reach as many people as that need it.
I hope so, and like I said, I was truly, the biggest fear I had was just blowback from people, because unfortunately veterans eat themselves alive, man. Like, fucking, it's just bad. Some of it rightfully so sometimes, if you're boasting about yourself on the internet a little too much, everyone kind of knows. We're like, hey, man, tone it down. But
we've seen that.
Yeah. We've seen that. The world is seeing it right now with certain influencers, but So I want to be genuine and come across this. And if someone's like, yeah, you're just trying to make money, it's like, well, hey man, I mean, in a perfect world, I would only do this and quit my job, but it takes treating this professionally to do that. I mean, I can't help people for free and then not be able to feed myself, so
Yeah.
like I want people to see that, if you don't want to take the course, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. If you need it, might be one of the best things you do for yourself. And that self-education is going to be a superpower, because then everything else you'll know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes down to anything that's worth doing, like there has to be some exchange of value, and, unfortunately, I mean, people don't value stuff that's free, which
that's true.
like, I mean, obviously, like, I mean, even in what I do, like I try to help as many people as I can just without any monetary investment involved. But the thing is like a lot of the time people aren't going to just figure it out for themselves if they don't have some kind of skin in the game, which you would think, I mean, they already do. They've already been and they've done. The skin is there in the game, but, when you're taking the time to put something together to make it easier, whereas someone, if they did it on their own, how long did it take you to figure it out? Like you're talking years of research and work, so like
years.
Yeah. You took the time to, package it and compartmentalize it in a way that's now a lot easier for somebody else.
Yeah.
And like, I think people just have to think like, how much time is this going to save me? How much, easier is this going to make my life by doing it this way, when there is an investment involved? I mean, I think it makes the most sense.
Well, and the thing too with these claims, right, is nobody has to do them for you. So when you talk to a VSO, you can give them legal authority. I didn't do that the second time. Yeah. I said, oh, I can submit everything myself. I'm doing this by myself. Then.
Yeah, I mean, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yep. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, I got to make sure I check every box. I don't even know what half the boxes are. So I studied it like for 6 months, and then I submitted everything by myself. No one had to tell me how to do it or what to do.
Yeah.
So, I teach you how to do that if you want.
Yeah.
There's no guaranteed outcome.
Yeah. But, right. And like, who's going to be a better advocate for you than yourself?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, in a perfect world, you would have other people that don't know you that are looking out for you. Like that'd be sick, right? But that's just not how it goes. Yeah. Like if you really want to advocate for change for yourself, like you are the person that has to do it. You got to take, responsibility for that at the end of the day.
Right. And even if someone does all the paperwork and all the things and says that the lawyer will do this, you still will have to show up to that appointment by yourself without the lawyer there.
Yeah.
There's very limited areas where there's a certain level of legal treatment where somebody might actually have to go with you. But at the end of the day, you have to advocate for yourself. And so I want this to be a course that helps you, gain a lot of experience and then gain a really potentially good outcome that can change your life. But in that way, like you'll learn about learning for yourself, because guess what? Being a civilian is.
Yeah.
That's the rest of it, man.
Mm-hmm.
If the course is the first thing you ever looked at, that's going to be a repetition you'll do time and time again to learn how to get into your job, to get into a career, or to get a new house or to negotiate a deal on a car. Like it's going to come from having to learn. The Army won't tell you what to do anymore. The military won't tell you what to do anymore. Right. So it's going to be one of those things where this might be that first step where you can be proud that you taught yourself this. And I hope it's a mental check mark for yourself that gives you a little edge to say, I can learn this. I can get this for myself. I can do it again. And I can do it again.
Yeah.
And it expands the rest of your life.
Yeah. 100%. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. And if you want to find out anything else about what Ethan's doing, be sure to check out his YouTube channel. Throw us a follow on Spotify. Check out our YouTube channel as well. Find us on Instagram. Find us on TikTok. And we'll see you on the next one.